Hey guys, it's TF Nut. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another model kit review. This time it's going to be of the brand new Bandai 30-minute missions Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon Steel Haze model kit. I'm not saying all of this Schneider. I can't even pronounce some of that stuff there. Not even gonna lie to you guys. I am trying to get into Armored Core. I have the game. I got like maybe 2 hours in, and then life hit me to where I couldn't keep going. But I do want to keep playing because it just seems like such an awesome game to play. And when Bandai announced these kits, a lot of people went crazy. I know we have the Code of Kia kits. I've heard some mixed things about those. These, though, I mean, under the 30-minute missions label is pretty interesting, but these just look really fantastic, like above what you would expect with 30-minute missions, but just still a pretty decent line. It's just a lot of generic looking mechs, model kits that they make that are supposed to be customizable. That's the whole point, and cheap too. This here being a specific series is very interesting. And look at the box here, just going into the packaging. It is really sick. Just like, look, that's just how it's fantastic. I can't really describe it besides just showing you guys how good it looks. Armored Core 6, as well as the 30-minute missions logo up there. You have all the lettering there for Steel Haze, Rusty, of course. And then we also have the Bandai logo all the way over there, and then a full body image of Steel Haze right there, as well as where it says Bandai Namco, ages 8 and up, and that is a Bandai Namco certified logo right there with that little flag. Now, on this side, which I'm double checking, it is going to be the same on the other side, yeah. This here, if I have to turn up the brightness a little bit, this says Armored Core 6 again. You see Steel Haze there, and then you have Bandai, and then this is actually number 2. The whole set, Nightfall, I think that's Nightfall, right? Is not out yet, and or it's about to be out at least. I got this from my local hobby store once again, so they just had these. I called them real quick. It's like, hey, I need y'all, and they said, yeah, we got you. All this stuff here, and then you do also see over on this side, very reminiscent of what you would see on Gunpla boxes as well, with those barcodes and everything. Now at the bottom here, lots of things going on just to show you what, close-ups and stuff going on with the accessories. Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have inside the box. Now there are 9 runners total in this box here. This is very similar to how you would build up a high-grade Gunpla, actually. It's a little bit more complex than you would say, a normal 30-minute missions kit. This is definitely not an actual 30-minute mission. This took me a while at least. But as soon as you open the box here, again, 9 runners total. You have this dark gray runner in this bag with this brown larger runner there. And you have these gray runners for the weapon systems, and all of them are on their own runner, which is nice to see. Well, the weapons are completely separate from the rest of the other runners. Here's another weapon system runner with some blue there. You also have that sticker style decal sheet, and I will take a look at that in a little bit. As you see here, you also have the large multicolored runner with some brown and blue all throughout there, and some dark gray too, and then a translucent blue effects piece runner as well. Now this pamphlet basically goes over what the 30-minute missions line is, and also is a little bit of their catalog of other stuff, some weapon systems, and some actual robot model kits in that line, and then you also had some backdrops in there too, which is kind of nice for Armored Core. And then this is just the sheet here, or the manual, pretty much of how to build this whole thing. One thing I want to mention about these runners is that there are a lot of detailed parts. So I'm going to show you just a couple of the parts on each of these runners, because some of these things are going to get covered up when you start layering the plastic on top of each other. Not completely, you'll still see detail, but some parts like around the neck, maybe even in the arms, you get some detail covered up, unfortunately. But it's lots of great detail in this set, and you also see some of the detailing on the weapons going on right there. Now this is the sticker style decals. You have pretty much a large logo, 4 of the same exact smaller logos. Then you have one here where the border is completely clear. But they're all done here. You'll have a little bit of a clear border on all of these no matter what. Kind of similar to, high-grade Gunpla sticker style decals you're familiar with. If you really want to get them perfectly without those borders that will show up on darker plastic, you'll have to cut them out a little bit. I'm not going to put these on during the review, unfortunately, just because I don't really know where I should put them, and I feel like I'm going to mess something up. And here is Steel Haze out of the packaging. This is an absolutely fantastic looking model kit. Bandai has made a bunch of model kits throughout their entire, existence, not just Gunpla. I'm sure there's some other highly detailed model kits that I'm not thinking of right now. But in my collection, not just Gunpla, in my actual model kit collection, this here has got to be one of the most detailed I've ever owned. Nothing against the Gunpla, of course. There's some great detailing there. Those are more anime style. This is very much a video game style model kit. Not perfect. I hit a couple of snags that, nothing too bad when it came to building. And overall, it is a very awesome piece. Let's take a look at the accessories. Then we'll take a closer look at the actual model kit. As you can see, we have a lot of weapons that come with Steel Haze. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't know the exact name of all of these. They say it in the manual. I'm not going to list them all off one by one, simply because there's just too many letters and names for me to keep track of. I'm going to put everything, the exact names of everything, up on the screen right now with the corresponding item there. And I'm going to boil it down to the most basic of the name. Like if it's a burst handgun or a laser slicer, that is what I'm going to refer to it as. First thing I want to talk about is this very cool AK style burst rifle. It's a really nice sculpt when you put everything together. Very cool magazine, nice stock here. Nice thin handle here that doesn't have any parts sticking out in the bottom. So you can just slip this into the hands of Steel Haze. I'll show that off in a little bit. You have this attachment point when you want to holster that. And I will show it off in a little bit. I guess the stock, I already think I mentioned that. And it does look a little plain when it's in one color of a light gray plastic. But when you paint this up a little bit, or maybe even if you want to get some panel lining done in here and just a little bit of detailing of, like weathering or anything, should look better. It still looks really good as is. You have this nice little like flashlight attachment, I guess. You have these parts on the side too that are actually separate pieces where my fingers are. And then you do have like almost two parts, basically. Well, one part sticking into the barrel going on there. And be careful, this is rather thin. Can this hold it very easily? Yes, it can. Because you just pop this in like that. Very nice connection. Seems a little bit wobbly, but that will fall out if I do that. No, it really won't. Now, I already have the weapon holstering, whatever, storage attachment on here. This is really only for the left side. You see this little notch right in there. This is also pretty nicely detailed too, and it moves a little bit when you hinge this, but it can lock in place, not super securely because you can still move this, but you can push that in and it will fit like that. Push this in, and that is about as much as it will go, and it stays in there. It pops out a little easily, but if you want to go, if I don't fumble this damn thing, you can push it up a little bit. Now, the shoulders are really tight on this kit. I'll just go ahead and say that now. So, trying to do this is not super easy. And you can I really can't do it very well, but you can almost get this kit to grab the rifle when it's holstered, which is a cool effect, but I can't really get it to do it properly without things coming undone. Now, if you really wanted to, you can use some of these weapons for newer Gunpla. Like, let's say you have Aerial here. Since 30-minute missions was coming out around the time, I believe, of the Witch from Mercury stuff. The wrist connection's a little wobbly on mine, but this stays in rather nice. But if you wanted to use it for something like, an older Gunpla, like maybe Gym Sniper 2, this really won't fit in here because that hand is just ever so slightly small, a gripping hand. And then every time I try to use the rifle hand here, the fingers want to pop off really easily. That's kind of a problem with this kit, at least on my kit. But yeah, this definitely will work for newer Gunpla. Then you have this burst handgun. This looks really cool. Very similar approach to how they built up this thing here compared to the rifle, but with fewer parts, of course. You just have this thin section here and you sandwich the whole sidearm within this piece in there. I'm not going to keep saying this because it's going to get monotonous, but I do think it looks a little plain just in one color. Again, painting, weathering should get that to look a little better. Now, this one you will have to pop the hands off, and it gets a little tricky because the hands don't come off at all, so you have to remove the fingers every time, of course, because of that. So that's the finger connection there. Then you'll just put it inside the palm connection, and it holds that in a very stable connection, looking really nice. Now, this is going to be a little tricky. Sometimes when a weapon is in the hand, it gets a little hard. This does have weapon storage on this system here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so you can just pop that in there because there is a hole on the top there. You just plug that in like so. So that works pretty well. Now to talk about the laser slicer. There's two ways to do the laser slicer. There's this, not ready version, undone, no effects parts. Already still, it's just two pieces of plastic sandwiched together and it looks fantastic. The detailing on this is so really nicely done. I don't know the inner workings of everything like mechanically going on here, but what I can tell you is that this is a fantastic piece. That's what even the inside, just with that 3mm connection point, looks like. Pop that back in. The way that this works is that, did I miss a nub mark? I might have. Maybe that's supposed to be there. I don't know. Apologize if that's supposed to be a nub. But this is supposed to actually plug into the wrist. So you get two types of back of hands. You see this one here that's filled in right there with the blue. This side here, you get, again, two of these, two of these. This reveals the 3mm connection point. It's a little bit difficult for me to do it on camera, but you just pop it off. You can see it's shimming a little bit. So you pop that off and there's a groove in there. Pop that back in. The idea is this end here that has a little bit of this hollow piece, and then these two prong sections that are sticking out. That's how you'll face it out that way. At least that's what the instructions say. You pop that out, and then Steel Haze is about to use it. Now you actually want to remove the entire piece here before I show the completely done version. Remove this for now, and I'm going to show you that you can holster this. I guess holster is not the right word. It's just weapon storage for the slicer on the back attachment, which is sick. Now, let's look at the detailing of this first before I show how to do it. This thing is so sick. Again, if you thought that one piece was, detailed, this is just great. There is a little bit more hollow plastic on this side compared to this side where it's definitely supposed to, be facing outward. And you have these blue type of, actually really decently detailed blue effects pieces. Very cool types of energy creasing going on there. Not exactly sure what you would call that, but these are really nice. And this whole kit, the plastic on here doesn't mark super easily, except for maybe a couple areas, which I'll talk about. So you have this swivels here at this connection point, as you see, so that you can pop this out. Now you do have this little peg system here. It goes right there where my finger is. Let's see if I can do this properly. I'm probably not going to do this properly at all. I kind of got it in there. There are some thin, there are some thin sections to be careful of. Like, you guys can kind of see this thin section can get a little iffy to use, but that is what it looks like when you have it on there completely. And, things look like it sticks out a little too much, looks a little too big, but, I mean, it's a mech. It's supposed to look big, and this thing is just really fantastic. Last but certainly not least is the plasma missile launcher. That was a mouthful for a second. This thing is super cool. There are some sections where there are part separation, and it was really hard to get some cleanup and cleanly cut some of these nub areas. So be mindful of that when you're cutting this out. But when you get everything together, and then, these are some thin plastic sections too. But panel lining on this thing is really sick. Like some rivets in there too, and you have this left-sided connection point there. There's the inside there. That is really fantastic looking. Let's show what this is going to look like when you plug this in. Yeah, so that's what both back attachments look like for now. Again, there's hinging or swiveling really right here. This can also swivel here, but then there's also two types of swivel connections here, and then you can move this up a little bit and make this go up a little bit more. And that is really sick there. And you can probably make it go forward a little bit more. It's probably supposed to be more proper that way. I don't know. You can really have it whatever length you want it to be. Pop that out. And then again, you can pop these off anytime, but the way that they are oriented with the type of plastic, you can't really switch it to that side, or vice versa. You really can't switch it to that side either. Now, even though Steel Haze already comes with a decent amount of accessories, you can get even more stuff with the weapon set option 1. I'm going to go over this really quick. I'm not going to go into too much depth of detail of what's going on here. This video is already going to be super long. This here is a separate weapon set that you can purchase that will be compatible with Steel Haze and the other Armored Core model kits that you would be purchasing. This was like $18. I got this when HobbyTown had Steel Haze in stock. 18 bucks for a weapon set is actually not too bad if you ask me. It doesn't come with that much crazy amount of stuff, but it's still a pretty good value if you ask me, especially how detailed all this stuff is. And I'm not going to go over the exact, just complete names of everything. We're going to be here forever with all those letters and numbers, but what we have here is basically a different type of laser rifle, the laser dagger that has different types of display options. We have the plasma missile and the laser drone. I want to show off the laser drone. The thing about the connection points here, I'm highlighting it right here. This is provided from the Steel Haze kit. This here is actually meant for the right side because the left side connection point, of course, was meant for just holstering weapons that you guys saw earlier. So unfortunately, if you want to be able to display either your laser missile or your laser drone or your plasma pistol, you will have to have connection points provided from the actual kit. You don't get those in the weapon set, which is kind of a bummer. I wish they would include those. This box, for the weapon set does show off heavily what these weapons look like with the standard orbiter, not Nightfall, just the one that's coming out later. So I guess that's not too bad. You'll have that, you'll have a bunch of connection points if you need to eventually when more of these kits come out. Just wish they provided it here, but just with the laser drone in here for now, I am using the connection point that is meant for the right side of Steel Haze. It kind of works on the left side, so that does kind of work with the laser drone. But I have a bunch of other stuff here now displayed on Steel Haze. You do have that plasma missile on the right side with the proper connection point that's supposed to be over there. It's holding the laser rifle pretty well, maybe just a little bit of a loose fit. Also, you will have to take the fingers off because of how the handle is done for the laser rifle. And then you do have different options for that laser dagger, of course. This one here, I'm just going to show off real quick with the laser rifle holstered, as well as the energy effect there for that plasma dagger, looking pretty nice. So I really do recommend getting an extra set, just if you have a little bit of extra cash. You might, if you want to go all in on the Armored Core sets. I don't think they're super necessary, but they are pretty cool if you want even more display options. And one thing I did forget to mention, I'll show off images of how it looks in the manual, because it's just the easiest way to show you guys, is that you do get options for plastic for either going on the right side or left side when it comes to the laser drone as well as the plasma missile. The thing is that these aren't super duper easy to disassemble. If you want to, switch off that plastic, it's possible. But I think the idea here is they want you to buy more weapon sets so you can have two sides for every side, so you don't have to keep disassembling everything, which is kind of what they do with Gunpla as well, which is a little scummy. It's up to your interpretation. I think it is a little bit, but if you're going to be getting more and more Armored Core kits, you're probably going to buy maybe one or two of the exact same type of weapon set in the future, just to have your options there. So I don't see this as too much of a fence there. Now, we haven't had a good look at the actual kit up until this moment, so I don't know if anyone's noticed yet, but you can notice the eyes are green here. That is not how it's going to come out of the box. I simply hit it with a Gundam marker fine edge set number 1, I believe, metallic green marker, just because I noticed the eyes were green. I think some sections, like in the blue on the knees here, I think these should also be green, but I'm not hitting those with green yet until I figure out exactly where the placement should be. But I wanted to paint them green. That area is rather hard to get done in a clean manner, so I paint here, and if there was things that globbed up, unfortunately, that weren't supposed to be green, I just hit it very carefully, just lightly scraping it off with an X-Acto knife or a hobby knife. I mean, as careful as can be. Yeah, I think they came out actually really nice, and I think there's some areas. It's a little hard to see in the eyes, but you can see they're kind of like triangular shapes interlocking with each other, kind of. And once you build it, you'll have a better understanding of what I'm trying to say. But some of it is probably not perfect when it comes to that metallic green, but I'm fine with how it looks right now because, you can see it in the camera pretty close, but really far away, and I mean, this head's pretty small already. Pretty far away, you're not going to be able to tell that much.
And now looking back while editing, I can see that I have probably painted it a little too high. So yeah, I need to give up reviewing model kits because I just don't know what the hell I'm talking about at this point.
What you are going to be able to tell, though, no matter what, is that this thing just has crazy amounts of detail all over. And now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of it actually wasn't that covered. That's what I was worried about. I still wanted to show it off just in case, those parts on the runners earlier. There's all these details that I just don't even know the names of what's going on, but panels everywhere. Panel lining this in whatever color you choose to get these out, in these darker colors. That's going to look really nice. And already without the panel lining, I think it still looks really good, if I'm being honest. But, I didn't really add any panel lining, of course, or weathering or any other paint. So adding some of that is going to be even more sick. Just all these great details all around here. I can't really go over every single little piece. It's not exactly like a humanoid figure, where I can easily talk about like armor pieces or parts of the clothing. I just kind of have to show you how all these different like grooves and vents and other parts, how that looks. What I can tell you about is that the marking is not too bad. You do see these dark blue sections on there pretty easily, at least on these sections right there. But I don't think it marked too bad, and I don't really notice. We'll have to keep going. I think the only other parts that had really apparent marked sections were probably here when I tried to clean it up as best as possible, each side of the bicep from the front and the back. Other than that, like even this small piece here, it was a little bit hard to clean up, I think, but you can't really tell. Well, maybe a little bit, like right there, but that is not very apparent. One thing I should mention is be careful doing this exact step in the head with the gray parts in between the blue here. That eye section, for some reason, it was difficult to cut out to where some of the plastic was stressing in some areas, and I was cutting as careful as possible. So be super duper careful when you're cutting out parts for the head. But looking at it now, I mean, I might need to zoom in a little bit more again, but I don't notice any stressing of the plastic that I thought was going to be there when I started cutting that out. So that's good, at least. That would have been pretty worrisome. Brand new Armored Core kit that everyone's trying to get, and I would have broken it like step 2. That would have been insane. Parts build up very nice. Again, this is it's not necessarily a 30-minute mission. This thing is definitely going to be a little bit of a longer build. If you're a more experienced builder, it might not take that long, but I'm also someone who's pretty experienced, but also I like to take my time with cleaning these up. So it took me like 4 hours. Yeah, maybe a little longer than that. But I do think that extra time is warranted. The reason why it's called 30-minute missions is because of certain connection points. And actually, give me 1 second. So I should mention really quick, there is actually no 3mm connection point on the back of this hand. It's only going to be on the left hand. I apologize for not mentioning that earlier. Did not realize that. I don't own very many 30-minute missions actual kits, just a large booster unit. Just to show you, just as an example, this has the 3mm connection plug going right into this port, and that will fit in there just fine. You can even use this, it's going to be rather small in comparison, but you can see just the compatibility that they have, and it's kind of like this with newer Gundams as well, like stuff from like the past couple of years. At least I think like definitely the Witch of Mercury stuff has a lot of 3mm connection points that you can use to your advantage with that. But I honestly don't really know why they called it 30-minute missions here, because it's not a 30-minute mission. It's very much not. Maybe just to help with that branding for Bandai, but I mean, they definitely could have made this its own line. Not that there's anything wrong with 30-minute missions, of course. Just it was interesting of a naming convention going on there, I guess. There's just a lot to talk about that I'm going to keep yapping about, but lots of great plating and separation of parts. And things do look a little plain, at least on the brown here. I do want to weather some things up in the future, but I need to get better at painting, actually. But like part separation around here, on the back of the hand, these little parts that are, revealed for like that little rotation right there. That's cool. You have some dark blue and a little bit of a lighter blue all throughout. And you have this dark, very, very dark blue, almost like a black color coming out here. I think earlier I said it was a dark gray. It's almost like a mix of dark gray and dark blue. Like it's super duper dark. Definitely not on, the side of black, but getting close to that. Again, I just really love a lot of detailing of these lines, these panel lines, all the detailing with the rivets, like the chest area, like the vents in the chest too. Excuse me. Some of the plastic likes to separate a little bit, and then if you push something up on accident, that can also
separate, but you can push that back rather easily. Same thing for these like back of the like shoulder pad sections. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but these shoulder connections going into these sockets, they're not the greatest. You can see that that plastic is separating there. Those are two pieces that are supposed to be sandwiched together. I've tried to cement this one without, destroying the area that has the important articulation right here, of course. So only the connection points, where they're supposed to be together, I've glued them together, and that is still really tight. If you pop the arms in and out just a little bit, I think that will make it a little bit easier, but you're going to need to be careful with this and maybe figure out a way to prevent this from straight up breaking on you, because yeah, I don't like that that's like that. That's like one of my only issues with this kit, honestly. Like the hands, they look really great too. Again, I just wish that, I mean, it's a model kit, so you're going to have to do your own work, but I guess I just wish I was better at painting. It does look a little bit plain just with this type of plastic. I think the brown, the lighter browns, there's like this little bit of this darker brown, and then this lighter brown here. You can see that difference in that color. I think that the lighter brown is probably the weakest color of plastic on this kit when it comes to at least like detailing and color. But it's still not bad at all. It still looks fantastic. All these areas around would be the crotch area with really great detailing. There's a connection point right there for a base if you need that. These thruster sections too, they're two parts. They're also really fantastic looking too. They're small, simple, but still really nice. These little back fin sections. I don't know what these are called actually. Man, the holidays are coming up. I'll be playing this game around then. I got to get more versed in Armored Core. But the paneling on this, and this does seem a little flimsy, and it seems like it can break if you're not careful, but you got to really push some things, and you got to really screw up if you break this somehow, like this back section. Not impossible, not that easy either. They do kind of get in the way of the arms, just ever so slightly. Nice separation around here on the top of the legs. All these parts layer up very nicely. Like this almost this whole leg section is a separate part, stacking on top of this upper thigh. Then you have to stack this blue on there. Just fantastic. Really great. Almost like these pistons. I mean, they are pistons. They're sculpted in there. They don't actually, I mean, all of this moves, but they don't do like a NECA RoboCop thing, right? Where they don't like go up and down or anything. But you do have lots of panels around the legs. The knee sections are very pointy there. All these little, I wouldn't say servos, but just these circular areas, excuse me. A little bit of a lighter brown mixed in this darker brown on the back of that leg there. And then you get down to some blue and these feet, which are done in a very interesting way. That's what the detailing looks like. Could be a little better. Some parts look a little hollow, probably to help with the center of balance, but you get some really nice detailing on top there. I did show this off earlier with the 360 pose. I've tried to show you and talk about as much of the detailing as possible. All I could do was really just show it to you. Some parts do get hidden a little bit. I think some of the back, like the back of the knees, look a little hollow. Maybe these are supposed to be accurate to how that's supposed to look in the game. And then when you bend that, you will cover some of that detailing. But just, I have to let you look at it. Because words can't really do justice, at least my words can't do justice, on like all the detailing and part separation here. This thing just looks stunning. Now, if you were expecting levels of articulation similar to a Gunpla, which that almost has, import style levels of articulation, yeah, maybe not exactly, but I mean, when you look at this thing, you can tell that there were going to be some limitations in the articulation. That does not mean that you can't pose this around, because you can. So, you can pop this head off. It is on a ball joint, and then this is a separate neck piece that can also come out if you need to. Pop that back on. The head goes down that far. The head, yeah, doesn't really goes up this far until you end up popping it. You get a little bit of a shimmy, not really moving at all. But then the swiveling, actually, there's no hindering there. I talked about this already, but this part is already glued, so it's a little bit easier to do this. Ball joint here can go a little bit forward and back, and then swiveling. You get to see how the weapon systems, would swivel in here as well. Now, this shoulder pad, it can go in and out like this. It is attached via a C-clip in that part. It's hidden really well because you do need to move this out, and that goes pretty much all the way out because of that extra shoulder pad articulation. So that is really sick. Upper arm swivel. You do get a single joint elbow that goes at 90. Absolutely no wrist articulation. Pretty sure that's accurate. We get a ball joint at the waist, and if you move it around, it will pop up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, there's also some detail in there getting covered up just a little bit. Pop that back on, and you get swiveling, and you can get a little bit side to side there. So not crazy amounts of articulation here, but really not that bad. These parts shimmy in and out like this, and then this swivels here as well. So you can really position that in very many ways. Then you get this single joint knee that does bend really nice, as you see there. You can push it pretty much just that far down. You do actually get forward and back at the actual ankle meeting the blue there. So that's what it looks like when you push it back. These feet seem a little thin, so just be careful with that. You also get, I mean, this gets in the way a little bit, but you can get a pivot right here. And that is about all the articulation, which, I mean, I looked at this thing and I was like, man, good luck posing. I mean, it wasn't going to be impossible to pose, I can tell, but good luck getting into decent poses. But I mean, this thing still has really good range, even with some of its limited articulation, which is accurate to how these armored cores are built.
Now, the tallest area of this kit is above the head, of course. You can see where, the missiles would attach in the back section. So we're going to measure with that. We're going to get around 15 centimeters, maybe a little bit less when you get to the top of those back sections. So that is going to put this around the 5.5, maybe a little under 5 3/4 inches area there. Completely forgot to show off what Dual Blitz and Lightning Buster look like next to each other in size comparisons for the Lightning Buster review. So I'm doing that now. They're going to be shorter than this armored core. Pretty sure they aren't in scale because Gundams are 1/44th. And then I have no idea what the armored core stuff is supposed to be in scale with. But on the left and right, we have a standard size Black Series and a standard size Marvel Legends that's going to be a little bit taller. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this kit. I had a lot of fun building it, posing it, getting all the accessories done, and the extra weapon set done too. It's just such a really nicely engineered, nicely detailed kit. I'm just really blown away with what Bandai was able to accomplish here. It's not perfect. Unfortunately, due to the design, the articulation isn't going to be that great. But I can't really knock it for that because that is how it's supposed to be built, where it's the way that the movement is done and the way that these joints are supposed to look associated with the movement isn't going to be perfect. I'm totally fine with that. I do think the shoulder connection points, those sockets going into the body, that upper torso, those do worry me a bit. I just got Nightfall. I need to build that. Don't know how that's going to be, but this thing is just such a nice looking piece. Even without all the extra detailing and painting you're going to be doing, if for those who want to, it still looks really fantastic. But once you do all that extra effort, it's going to look even more. It is a little pricey. It's around, $37, under $40 at that point. So it's rather expensive, unfortunately. But me personally, I had a lot of fun with it, and I think that price justifies it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about the model kit, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends. Follow me on Instagram for more content over there. I'm going to get to continuing to play this game, I promise, and I'll see you guys later.